When you stop explaining yourself, she finally has to sit with the truth, and that silence changes everything. You stop chasing what refuses to understand you. You stop trying to fix what was already decided. There's no anger left, no desperation, no pleading. Just the stillness of a man who's done talking. She doesn't realize it at first, but something shifts. The energy that once pulled her close now withdraws, and in that vacuum she feels the weight of your absence. You're not proving a point, you're reclaiming peace. That's the quiet power she never expected. A man who no longer needs to convince. When you stop explaining, you stop giving her emotional control. Every word you spoke before was a thread she could pull to keep you engaged. Every attempt to justify your actions kept her in charge. But silence? Silence cuts those strings. It turns confusion into curiosity and curiosity into discomfort. She can't read you anymore. She doesn't know what you feel, what you plan, or if you even care. That mystery unsettles her more than any argument ever could. The truth is, explaining yourself became a habit, not out of weakness but because you cared too much. You wanted understanding, fairness, closure. But those who want to misunderstand you never run out of ways to twist your words. When you step back, you stop feeding that distortion. You give her nothing to dissect, no emotion to feed on. It's not cruelty, it's clarity. You stop defending your value and start embodying it. That decision changes your energy. You walk differently. You speak less. You feel lighter. The mental tug-of-war ends because you no longer play. You start realizing how much peace costs, and how cheap validation feels compared to it. She'll notice. Not because you announce your silence, but because she feels it. She feels the void where your attention used to live. That quiet withdrawal says more than 1,000 explanations ever could. She might test you. She might throw subtle jabs, try to provoke you back into defending yourself. That's her comfort zone, emotional chaos. But now you're unresponsive. Calm. Detached. You've learned that peace isn't passive, it's powerful. It's a man refusing to waste breath on what refuses to listen. Every moment you stay silent, she's forced to face herself. You stop being the mirror she hides from. You become the reminder she can't escape. Because when you walk away without resentment, you show strength that's rooted, not reactive. She finally sees what composure looks like. And deep down it bothers her, not because she hates it but because she respects it. This is where everything changes. Not through words. Not through persuasion. But through silence. Because silence is not the absence of communication. It's the presence of power. And once a man learns to speak with his absence, there's nothing left for him to explain. The first thing she notices is the quiet. Not an announced withdrawal, but a shrinking of presence. She expected fireworks, not stillness. She braced for explanation, for chaos, for words that would stitch things back together. Instead, space spreads between you like a slow horizon. That gap makes familiar patterns impossible. Routine comforts collapse. The small checks, the late-night voice, the casual concern, gone. Those rituals kept her grounded. Without them she feels unmoored. Instead of relief, unease settles in. She assumed your steadiness was endless. Now she learns it had limits. She becomes an architect of stories to protect herself. She tells others she's fine, that timing was off or the universe played its hand. She invents reasons because owning fault feels like loss. Rationalizing is easier than confronting the emptiness that your absence exposes. When distraction wears thin, raw questions arrive. What did I miss? Where did stability come from? She replays moments, searching for a pattern she can fix. Memory becomes a ledger. Small mercies you offered, patience, presence, your listening, start to add up in ways she cannot ignore. Attempts to drown the ache fail at dawn. Parties blur into mornings that ache. New faces don't carry the weight you did. Charm from others feels hollow because it's built on performance, not the steady ground you gave. The contrast grows sharper each day. She tries micro moves to test the temperature. A casual reaction to an old post. A message timed to seem accidental. Each probe is a quiet experiment. He used to react, maybe he still will. Silence answers. No eclipse, no flare, just consistent lack of response. That consistency speaks louder than any outburst she could manufacture. Social bravado thins out quickly. Stories get clipped and the desire to broadcast softens. She stops seeking the very attention she once craved because it no longer yields the return it once did. The parts of her that lived for your validation lose their color. This absence is a teacher that doesn't sugarcoat. It forces her to face the habits she outsourced. She must reckon with the parts of herself she co-signed to your care. No more projection, no more passing off inner work. The solitude demands answers. The emptiness isn't passive. It activates reflection. She has to sit with questions she avoided when comfort was guaranteed. Facing those questions is uncomfortable, but it's also necessary. The truth she's been sedated from begins to pulse back into awareness. The change isn't sudden drama, it's a grinding recalibration. Without your gravity, her emotional orbit alters. She experiences clarity in the form of discomfort. It pries open blind spots and forces a reckoning with choices, patterns, and priorities she'd once evaded. That reckoning might not look like apology. It might look like small shifts, quieter nights, fewer performances, more solitary thinking. It could be acceptance, or it could be a slow pivot toward better self-understanding. Either way, the quiet does its work. Silence exposes what noise hid. She must carry the truth alone. That solitary work cultivates honesty, and honesty reshapes future choices. She can't sit still. The silence itches at her skin. It's too quiet, too revealing, too still. So she performs. She builds a mask to hide the collapse beneath. She posts louder, laughs harder, pretends faster. Every move screams "I'm fine" while her eyes whisper "I'm not." The performance isn't for you, it's for herself. It's her last attempt to stay in control when control is gone. She curates happiness, carefully. Each photo, each caption, each story is a brick in the wall she's trying to rebuild. But every time she presses post, it lands heavy. Because the world might believe it, but she doesn't. The applause doesn't feel the same. The compliments don't stick. There's a hollowness behind every smile she forces. She can't fake the kind of peace she once felt around you. Her pride becomes armor. She convinces herself this is freedom. No more compromise. No more expectations. No more needing to explain. But deep down the silence feels different now. It isn't liberation, it's echo. A space that used to hum with meaning now rings empty. She scrolls, hoping the noise will fill the void. It doesn't. It only reminds her how loud she has to be just to avoid thinking. That's the paradox. The louder she gets, the less she's heard. The more she flaunts her independence, the more her energy leaks. Because independence built on denial isn't strength. It's exhaustion dressed up as confidence. Her laughter doesn't hit the same. It sounds like she's trying to convince herself. Every night she has to replay the act until she believes it. People notice the shift. They praise her glow up, her peace, her move on era. She smiles at the compliments, but they sting. Because peace without truth isn't peace, it's pretense. She misses the feeling of being seen without performing. Around you she didn't have to audition for affection. Now, every interaction feels like a role she's tired of playing. She starts noticing how temporary everything feels. How conversations fade. How attraction flickers. How attention dies when the mask slips. None of it has depth. None of it connects. She misses the stillness you carried, the kind that made chaos slow down. Back then she thought that stillness was boring. Now she realizes it was safety. Behind closed doors the performance cracks. The mask slips. The laughter stops. That's when the truth creeps in, uninvited but undeniable. She starts to see how much effort it takes to appear unaffected. She starts to feel the fatigue of pretending she's fine. That fatigue becomes her mirror. When she finally stops pretending, there's silence again. But this time it's not your silence, it's hers. She's not ready to admit it, but your absence has become her reflection. She feels it in the way she scrolls slower, in the way she stares longer, in the way her energy fades once the crowd disappears. The performance served its purpose. It delayed the pain. But now even the spotlight feels cold. The act is over. The audience is gone. And for the first time she's left alone with the truth she tried to outshine. You become the mirror she avoids. Your silence forces what she hid into the open. All the deflections, the excuses, the shortcuts she used to dodge responsibility reflect back on her. Without your steady presence to absorb the fallout, her projection breaks against reality. She sees the patterns she denied. She meets the versions of herself she outsourced to you. Attention had been your currency. She spent it freely because you kept paying. When you stop, the balance reveals how much she really owed. Suddenly memories are not just recollections, they're evidence. Tiny moments, your patience on bad days, the steadiness in your voice, the times you chose calm over argument, stack up like proof against the story she told herself. The illusion unravels quietly. Projection is exposed. The traits she blamed on others live in her, waiting in corners she refused to enter. Your withdrawal is a flashlight. It shows what she concealed beneath charm and deflection. She can no longer point outward without the reflection pointing back. That reflection isn't flattering. It's honest. Guilt arrives in small doses. It starts as a prick, then a rhythm. She notices the way she took comfort for granted. She remembers the time she met firmness with tests and steadiness with drama. Those memories aren't accusations from you, they're questions she can't avoid. They sit in her chest like an unanswered text. Anger softens because the mirror doesn't shout. It reveals. The defensiveness she reached for when cornered looks cheap now. She can't deny the image. She can't edit the past to fit the narrative she preferred. The mirror has no favorites. Bridges burned reveal themselves as ruins to cross alone. Where your consistency once hid the fractures, fracture lines now map her choices. That view forces decisions. Rebuild or stay on a worn path that never grows. Recognition arrives in small random minutes. A commute, a chorus, a kindness she once shrugged off. Each recall nudges her closer to reality. Patterns start to look less like excuses and more like cause and effect. She sees how tests pushed you to a limit and how expecting more without giving back created imbalance. Rationalization loses traction beside this view. Crowd noise and distraction feel thin. Truth pulls her gaze inward. For the first time she must answer without deflecting. That work is private and ugly and necessary. Change is slow. Reflection outlasts clout. It doesn't erase anything overnight. It demands a reckoning she once outsourced. The mirror asks for accountability, not explanations. This meeting with herself is disorderly. It lays bare the cost of avoidance and the price of comfort without growth. She learns that affection without reciprocity is shelter, not partnership. When she admits what the reflection shows, her waypoint changes. Decisions shift toward substance. Tests give way to talk, chaos to boundaries. The mirror's lesson becomes a compass. Your silence didn't annihilate her, it revealed her. Living with that reveal is how she becomes whole without you. She will carry that vision forward, choosing differently when faced with a familiar shortcut to comfort. The silence starts to crawl under her skin. What once felt like control now feels like uncertainty. She thought your quiet meant defeat, but now it feels like distance she can't bridge. Questions start spinning in her head with no off switch. Is he really done? Has he moved on? Does he even think about me anymore? That loop doesn't stop. It grows louder every day you don't reach out. Curiosity turns into restlessness. She starts checking things she swore she wouldn't. Your profile. Old messages. Old photos. She zooms in on small details looking for hidden meaning. A caption. A story. A song. Anything that could prove you still care. But your silence gives her nothing to hold. That nothingness is heavier than words. It makes her imagination do the damage. She rewrites memories trying to make sense of them. She recalls the way you looked at her when you listened, really listened, and how easy it was to dismiss that as ordinary. Now she understands it wasn't ordinary at all. It was rare. She starts realizing she was safe with you, not bored. She confused calm for lack of passion, when in truth, it was peace. The kind of peace she can't find anymore. Her friends tell her to move on. They distract her with nights out, attention, meaningless validation. It works for a while. But then the high fades and she's back where she started, scrolling, remembering, missing. She starts noticing the difference between being admired and being understood. She had both with you, but she only valued one. Now she gets plenty of the wrong kind and none of the right. She thinks about reaching out. drafts messages, deletes them, writes again, overthinks every word, because she knows your response isn't guaranteed anymore. You used to answer instantly. Now she doesn't know if you'll answer at all. That uncertainty flips the power dynamic. She's not in control, she's waiting. The silence she once weaponized now works against her. Every time she sees something that reminds her of you, it stings differently. A song lyric, a phrase you used to say. Even a quiet moment alone becomes dangerous. It triggers reflection. Regret starts to form beneath the surface. She wonders when the turning point really happened, the moment you stopped chasing, the moment she pushed too far. She replays it like a movie she can't rewrite. Sleep becomes restless. Thoughts circle endlessly. It's not obsession with you as a person, it's obsession with what she lost in herself when you left. Your absence highlights her imbalance. The peace she mocked now feels like medicine she didn't know she needed. She craves that calm again, but she knows she can't demand it. So she watches. From afar. From fake accounts. From distance. Each glimpse of your composure cuts deeper because it confirms what she tried to deny. You're not broken. You're better. That's when it hits her. The silence didn't just remove her access to you. It removed her control. And that loss burns in a way no goodbye ever could. The noise finally dies down. The act runs out of energy. What's left is stillness, uncomfortable, heavy, honest. She doesn't post as much. She doesn't pretend as hard. The mask that once kept her together starts to crack from the inside. That's when reflection begins. Quietly. Without warning. Without defense. She remembers things she buried, how patient you were when she lashed out, how you stayed calm when she tested you, how you never matched her chaos. She replayed those moments before but twisted them to fit her story. Now she sees them differently. You weren't weak for staying steady, you were strong for not reacting. She realizes that your calm wasn't indifference, it was discipline. A kind of strength she mistook for apathy. At first, she resents the realization. It hurts to see how wrong she was. But pain turns into clarity. She starts connecting the dots. Every time she pushed, you didn't push back, you just withdrew a little. Every time she disrespected your peace, you valued it more. And in the end, that's what separated you. You chose silence over chaos. You chose peace over validation. She sees that now. She begins to wonder how you're doing. Not out of jealousy, out of curiosity. The idea of you living unbothered stings, but it also fascinates her. She sees glimpses of you through others, through mutuals, through the small traces you left online. You look lighter, focused, unavailable. That calm glow is something she never gave you space to have. And now she envies the version of you that exists without her interference. Regret creeps in slowly. It's not dramatic. It's quiet. It arrives when she sees other people arguing about nothing. When she notices how rare real peace is. When she remembers how safe it felt to be around you, even when she didn't appreciate it. The world feels louder now. Colder. Faster. You were the pause she didn't know she needed. She starts reflecting on her own patterns. How she chased validation and lost connection. How she confused attention with affection. How she sabotaged good things because she wasn't ready for calm. That kind of self-awareness doesn't come easy, it hurts. But it's the kind of pain that teaches. The kind that strips away pride and replaces it with truth. Now when she talks about you, her tone is different. There's no mockery. No defensiveness. Just quiet respect. Maybe even gratitude. She won't say it out loud, but she knows she lost something solid. Something real. You didn't have to prove your worth. Time did it for you. You've moved past the noise. You've become a standard she didn't appreciate until it was gone. The regret isn't about you leaving. It's about realizing you were the calm she was searching for in chaos. She understands now that your silence wasn't punishment. It was closure. The kind that doesn't need words. The kind that teaches without saying a thing. Your silence doesn't scream, it radiates. It's calm, grounded, unshakable. You're not chasing validation anymore. You're anchored in clarity. You don't seek revenge, don't need to prove anything. You just live in peace, and that peace speaks volumes. The absence of noise becomes the message. She feels it even from a distance. The energy she once drained now fuels your growth. That shift unsettles her because she can't manipulate stillness. You've become unreadable. The man she once could trigger with a few words now moves with intention. You don't argue. You don't react. You let time reveal everything. That kind of composure disarms her because it shows maturity she underestimated. The version of you she built in her mind no longer exists. You've evolved beyond explanation. Your peace is louder than her pride. While she's trying to distract herself, you're rebuilding. Quietly. Consistently. You invest energy where it matters. Into purpose, not pain. You wake up focused. You don't scroll through the past or wonder what could have been. You've accepted what was, and that acceptance gives you an aura she can't touch. That's what makes your silence powerful. It's not empty, it's disciplined. She watches whether you notice or not. Maybe through friends. Maybe through silence. She studies your calm the same way she once studied your attention. Only now, she sees a man who doesn't move for approval. She sees distance she can't close with charm. That realization hits hard because it exposes what she lost. A man who no longer negotiates his worth. Every move you make is controlled. You don't need to announce progress. Your energy shows it. You look lighter, sharper, focused. You're not performing peace, you're living it. That difference is magnetic. It pulls attention without effort. And that's what twists the knife. She can't figure out how to reach someone who doesn't need to be reached. The silence you hold isn't avoidance, it's power. You're not running from emotion, you've mastered it. You feel but you don't fold. You understand that control isn't suppression, it's direction. You steer your energy where it builds you, not where it drains you. That's the kind of strength she never saw coming. Now your calm becomes contrast. Every man she meets after you talks louder, tries harder, reacts faster. But none of them carry the stillness you do. None of them hold presence without needing control. Your peace becomes the reminder she can't shake. She'll compare it even when she swears she won't. Because genuine composure leaves an imprint that can't be replaced. You don't need to return. You don't need to explain. The lesson has already landed. Your peace proved your growth. Your silence exposed the difference between love and attachment, between reaction and restraint. You became what she thought she wanted, a man who doesn't need her to feel complete. And that's what keeps her thinking long after the noise fades, not your words but the calm you left behind. You didn't disappear to punish her, you disappeared to protect your energy. You stopped feeding confusion with conversation. You stopped rescuing situations that were built on imbalance. That withdrawal wasn't emotional cowardice, it was clarity. You finally saw the difference between love that nourishes and love that drains. And once that realization hit, silence became your boundary. She used to think your absence meant indifference. But as days stretch into weeks, she starts to understand it differently. Your quiet is teaching her what attention really meant. Every unread message, every unanswered impulse forces her to sit in her own echo. There's no response to cling to, no comfort to twist into meaning. It's just her, alone with the truth. Absence turns into awareness. She notices how no one listens the way you did. How no one reads her moods like you could. The emotional shorthand you built is gone, and that emptiness highlights just how much she took it for granted. The stillness becomes her teacher. It doesn't explain, it exposes. And what it exposes is hard to ignore. She starts to feel the cost of inconsistency. The games, the testing, the pride, they all lose their shine. When attention comes easily, it's easy to waste it. But when it's gone, reality bites. She starts to realize that real connection doesn't survive ego. That the people who stay silent after being misunderstood aren't weak, they're finished. Meanwhile, you're not looking back. You've learned that detachment isn't coldness, it's strength. You no longer confuse compassion with tolerance. You can care without clinging. That separation gives you perspective. You see how much of your peace you once traded just to keep something unstable alive. Now that it's gone, you breathe easier. You move slower. You sleep better. Your absence transforms you too. You're sharper. You read energy faster. You don't chase emotional chaos disguised as passion anymore. You understand that silence filters everything. Who respects you, who tests you, who truly values what you bring. The right ones adjust. The wrong ones fade. You stop trying to hold what's meant to fall away. From her side, the silence stretches into reflection. The story she told herself stopped working. Blame turns into self-questioning. She wonders if she pushed too far, if she mistook your calm for indifference. That question doesn't leave easily. It lingers, echoing every time she meets someone who can't match your steadiness. That's the power of absence. It teaches by contrast. You don't have to prove your worth. Time does it for you. Your stillness becomes the standard she can't unsee. And once peace becomes your normal, chaos feels foreign. You stop needing closure because you've already given yourself one, walking away with dignity intact. She'll learn in silence what words could never teach her. When a man detaches with grace, that lesson stays. Because absence, when rooted in strength, isn't distance, it's dominance. The kind that can't be undone. You left without fanfare. No speeches, no ultimatums, no last-minute performances. The choice was practical. Protect your time, guard your energy, restore your center. That decision reshaped your life quietly. It wasn't dramatic, it was decisive. You traded argument for clarity and chaos for direction. She notices the shift before she admits it. At first it registers as a missing beat in her routine. Later, it becomes a pattern she can't ignore. Small rituals disappear, the check-ins, the casual checkouts, the comfort she took for granted. Those gaps force a rewrite of how she understood security. You did not withdraw to wound. You withdrew to survive. That withdrawal returned responsibility to her lap. Suddenly the one who relied on your steadiness must answer for herself. There is no villain in this scene, only consequences that land precisely. Memory changes under new light. Actions you offered without fanfare look different without context. Your steadiness becomes a list of quiet gifts. She reads that list alone. The realization is a slow ache, not a lightning strike. Time clarifies. Without your responses, puzzles begin to solve themselves. Patterns appear where she once made excuses. The things she once dismissed as small now read as signals. Context replaces narrative and reveals choices she avoided seeing. She will confront mimicry later. New attention might sparkle and fade. It won't last because it lacks depth. Comparisons start to surface naturally. People who chase reactions can't match what you gave that was built on restraint and consistency. Meanwhile you are building. You invest in rituals that sustain you. Sleep, work, discipline, presence. These simple commitments compound. Growth replaces drama. Your days gain shape and purpose. You measure progress by calm, not applause. Acceptance is uneven. First she blames, then she bargains, then fatigue settles in. Finally she catalogs losses and learns. That ledger is quiet. It isn't about punishing yourself, it's about adjusting future behavior. This reckoning shapes what she seeks next. When she finally admits the truth privately, it registers as a small, sharp recognition. Not relief. Not victory. Just understanding. She sees that repair might be possible, but terms have shifted. Boundaries matter now. Re-entry would require honesty she once avoided. You're not waiting on that chapter. You chose forward motion. Your life validates the decision daily. Small consistent actions confirm the value of what you gained. Time, dignity, clarity. Closure lives where practice matches principle. Over months, small reminders surface. A song, a route, a habit, pushing her toward honesty. Applause fades beside consistent care. Seeing you thrive without chaos teaches new standards. The ache shifts into resolve. She may not act immediately, but the lesson lands. True treasures whisper, and some losses require no public proof to be final. And you keep building quietly every day. If this hit you deeper than words ever could, subscribe. More truth, more strength, more silence that speaks louder than noise, every week.